everyone, and welcome to today's iFormBuilder webinar. Today we'll be discussing understanding and integrating iFormBuilder data. Your presenter today will be Berit Johannessen, and my name is MJ. I'll be here to help field questions and help out any way I can. If you're going to be around the San Diego area in the next couple weeks, we'll be at the ESRI Conference. So if you're out there, please stop by our booth. It'll be 1017 to catch up with us, talk about your project, and receive some iForm swag. All right, Berit, hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, MJ, and welcome everyone to this awesome webinar that we have today. If you've attended other ones of my webinars that maybe even have the same topic of data integration, this one is going to be a little bit unique and a little bit different and going to build off of some of the other topics that we've covered in the past. What we're going to really go through today is just some of the steps that you need in the basics for this whole integration. Before I even actually go into the topics, one thing that I love about iFormBuilder is the fact that you can integrate and automate your workflow in a relatively easy way. And so we're really going to jump into how to get started with that, but also how complex it can get to build custom workflows. So to start, we have getting started with integration. Then we're going to go into understanding data feeds and the post data, and using the post data URLs that is available within iFormBuilder. I'm going to give you some integration ideas that some tools that I've played around with and some other customers have played around with, as well as giving you a demo of this really neat custom workflow that has been created using the Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets, as well as emails. Then we're going to go into custom web services, what they are, and really how to get started with them. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is just very briefly is going to be about iFormBuilder Gnosis. So getting started. The first thing that we have is, why do you want to start with this integration? Why is it important to have it become part of your workflow? The first reason is that it'll eliminate human error. So no longer are you going to have someone taking the data, maybe even coming from iFormBuilder, cleansing it, and then putting it into another system. You can automate that, and you can cut down on those errors that maybe a little typo that someone would have had or anything like that. The second point that I briefly mentioned is just automating the workflow, so saving your time and then the next bullet, saving time and money with this automation. And the fourth one, and probably the most important one, is that with this integration, data integration and automation, you're really able to get this comprehensive data, and you're able to do more with that data at a faster rate to have activities occur based off of the information that was captured. So for instance, maybe even before you used iFormBuilder, when you're maybe using paper forms, you were writing everything down, and it takes 3 or 4 weeks to actually get that data into the system, and based off of that information, then you can have an action occur. Now what you're able to do is you're able to create using visual tools and reporting tools. You're able to see that data in real time and put an action in place right away. As you can see in this little icon on the right-hand side too, is to integrate is to optimize. And you're able to bring iFormBuilder and integrate it with several other softwares that you may be using. So to make your life a little bit easier and to not have 5 different locations that you have to go to every day to see different pieces of data. So the step 1 here, and probably the most important one in the very beginning of this process, is understanding your iFormBuilder data. So when you go to the Data tab within iFormBuilder, you see this little toolbar at the very top. You'll notice at the very beginning you have several views, and then you have feeds. A lot of people, when they first start using iFormBuilder, they're looking at the views. The views is what the view is what you kind of see within the form builder and the questions and the text that the user will see on their device. Now the data feeds is a lot greater than that, because it includes metadata, and this metadata is something that's captured in the background of the device every time the user collects any type of data using iForm. So we have a lot of different options available to you for both the views and the feeds. I'm just going to interrupt myself for a second here and just let you guys know that when I do share this PDF with you, all of these are links, and you will be able to get information on these different data views and feeds at a later date too. But going forward and talking about this metadata and talking about the feeds is really valuable with your integration. And you really need to actually understand what this feed is and what the data will look like before you start building any type of integration. So very simply put, the metadata is captured for a record by the iForm application. You'll see the username, the timestamp, the latitude, longitude, altitude, and compass direction. But you'll also see the data column names and the option list key values, not the labels. What I have here on the right-hand side is just a screenshot, and I'm going to bring up the actual data that I have in a JSON feed. So I've downloaded the JSON feed here, and I'm looking at it. Now you'll notice that it's very linear, and this is what you'll have to understand when you are integrating your data within other systems, is how this is structured. Another important piece of this is understanding how your data is structured as far as the parent form and the subform. And you can see at the very top, I have the parent page ID, and that will always be 0 if that's the parent form. Underneath that, I have the parent record ID, and it says 52. That's referencing this ID for the parent form of number 52. So that's a subform that is then connected. So you need to understand that when you're starting to build out your integrations. You also need to understand what the data will look like and why you may see null. Of course, null is very simply put, there's no data collected for that specific question. Here's a brief description of what each piece of metadata is and what's being captured. The reason it's important to understand this as well is you may not need to add different fields to your form if it's already being captured in the background of the device. So for instance, if each individual user is always using their own username when they're logging into the device, then you can use the metadata for that username being captured instead of having them placing it in there as well. All right, I'm going to just take a quick breath. I just ran through a lot in about 9 minutes. So MJ, is everything good over there?
Everything looks okay. There's no questions yet.
Awesome. All right. Again, if I know I'm running through this, I've got a lot I want to cover with you guys today, and I want to make sure that you get the most out of the platform and to get the most out of this webinar. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is just about using our post URL for integration. So today there are two ways, within iFormBuilder there are two ways that you can integrate your iFormBuilder data into other systems. One way, and the easiest way, is using our post URL. Then the next way, and a little bit more complex, is creating a custom web service using our API. So we're going to start with the easier process, which is using the iFormBuilder post for the integration. So to post the data, basically it delivers the iFormBuilder data to a specified location based off of what you've selected, and it'll automatically push that data to your location every time a new record is submitted within iFormBuilder. Again, once a user completes a form in iForm, it'll just post that, it'll hit the iFormBuilder cloud, and then it'll post it to whatever web service you've identified it to go to. Now I'm just going to bring up my screen and show you what that looks like, and if you wanted to start using the post URLs, how you would go about doing that. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go under, of course, log into your form builder and then go under Forms and Form Assignment. Once you're in Form Assignment, you'll just select a form that you want to assign a post URL to. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to select my form and press Assign. If I scroll down to the bottom of this page, you'll notice that there's a post data box. I've already added an endpoint here, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. But you can have multiple endpoints. So for this one, I have it going, this endpoint's going to go to a Google spreadsheet. But maybe I have a CRM tool that I also want the data to go to, and maybe a billing tool. So I could have as many endpoints here as I wanted. I'm just going to highlight the endpoint that I've previously created and click the Edit Endpoint. At this point, you'll notice I've already completed this information, but if you're creating a new one, then you'll place in a name. The name can be whatever you'd like it to be. The endpoint URL is actually going to be developed from the other web service that you're using. I'll show you some examples of that in just a moment. And you're going to place that URL in the endpoint URL. From there, you'll decide if it's going to be an XML or a JSON. For this example, I have it set as an XML file. The reason for that, the reason you may want to use JSON instead, if you do have the option, is JSON actually is a lot faster in its processing speed. With XML, it's a little bit heavy and a little clunky, but it still works just the same. Once you've selected the kind of post data format that you want, then you can decide if you want it to be a native text XML or a key value pair. So I have mine as a key value pair, and the reason for that being is because of the integration that I've built, I need to have this key value listed here for the data to be posted in my endpoint. Underneath that, I have my email address for the email for both the error reports and the notification, and I have also turned on guaranteed delivery. And just to give you a little bit more information about these, for the error email, it's just every time there's an error, it's going to send that person an email telling you what the error was. The notification is the same thing. If it fails, request fails, then you'll receive an email from saying that the post was not successful. And the last box for the guaranteed delivery is actually something newer that we've added more recently. And when this option's turned on, if a post fails the first time, it'll continue to try for after 1 minute, then 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 6 hours, and then 24 hours. If at that point it has been unsuccessful, then you'll receive the notification email. Now here are just some examples of where those other web services may give you a URL. And these are just 3 different examples of different web services. Now, I know that I am going through this, and if you are brand new to using post URLs, then you're probably wondering, well, where am I getting this? What am I doing? And that's why I've also included some integration ideas to help you develop and get those URLs to create this custom workflows or to create these workflows. So here are 6 different paid third-party integration tool examples that I've personally used. Now there are thousands and thousands of tools out there, and every company, every organization, of course, uses different tools. But these are some, if you're not using some tools, then these are some that I do recommend and I do have some experience using. The first one, and the one that I think is most valuable to you, is Zapier. Now Zapier allows you to basically create a custom workflow and allows you to have 2 different platforms talk to each other. Zapier is very easy, very user-friendly, and they have over 250 web apps, actually more than that now, I think over 400 different web apps now, which allow you to set up a communication and develop a workflow that you need. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring up my Zapier account. And you can see I have 2 Zaps currently on. But just to show you what it looks like within Zapier is I'm going to create a new Zap. and you have a trigger app and an action app. So we'll say we'll use iFormBuilder here, and so iFormBuilder is available as a web service here. And we can say every time a new record is created, or maybe we want to say every time a new form, new company profile, new record, or new widget, any one of these triggers occurs, then perform this action. So I'll say every time a new user is added in iFormBuilder, let's go ahead and add a new card to Trello. So I've said this is the action and this is the trigger that I want to occur, and I want this automated basically every time a new iFormBuilder user is added. So I'd continue through this process. I would connect both my iFormBuilder account and my Trello account, and whatever web services you are using, you would connect your accounts and then build out this workflow. The reason Zapier is so powerful is basically it's allowing you to perform this custom integration without writing a line of code. If you are a developer and you do have that expertise, this is still a great way to start to see if this is the workflow that you really want and really need. MJ, how are we doing on questions? Still good?
Actually, I've had just one come in.
Sure.
It starts off, if I've added or linked a third-party sub-meter actually device, example a Trimble R1, will the iForm use this as an XY coordinate or its native positioning system? They know they can add it in the form, but the question is, will it show in the back end as well?
So I believe if I understand this correctly, and please let me know if I don't, you're using the Trimble device as far as the way to capture your coordinates. If that is, I mean, the Trimble device, from what I understand, and again, I could be wrong, but it's just a Bluetooth device for GPS accuracy. And what that will do, that will actually override the location settings of the device itself, and that data will be put into iForm, and from there it will be viewable within the iFormBuilder data tab. Again, if I misunderstood that, MJ, please tell them to let me know, and I'd be happy to respond in a different way or answer the question more accurately.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're still on the screen for Zapier, where we're going to talk about the triggers and actions. I just showed you really briefly on how you can have a trigger and an action within Zapier, but these are the ones that are specific for iFormBuilder. So if you choose iFormBuilder as the trigger, then these are the options you have, or vice versa. So you also have the action side. What some groups have actually been able to do is they have both iFormBuilder as a trigger and as an action. So that's always very, very interesting. Maybe they've said when a new form is submitted, then create a record using this information or whatnot. There are different ways that you can build it out, but this is a really easy way to get started building an integration and automating your workflow for sure. The next tool that I want to show you is WebMerge. WebMerge is a tool that allows you to basically customize and create a report that meets a certain criteria. So with an iFormBuilder, and you can see this in the left-hand side image, it's a very, very basic linear PDF report. What you see on the right-hand side is a report from WebMerge, where I'm able to move where I have that picture, I can move where the signature is, I can have subform data at the very top, I don't have to have it at the very bottom, and I'm able to set up a really, I guess, much more attractive report. And basically what you can create is this workflow that once a record is submitted within iFormBuilder, it'll be posted to WebMerge, and then the report that you created in WebMerge will then be filled in with the data and then maybe emailed, however you've specified that report to be created and that workflow to be done within WebMerge. It can then be pushed out to whoever it may be in whatever method you've identified. Coupe Folio is another wonderful tool that's out there that allows you to view the data in real time. So it's a dashboard tool, and again, there are so many different dashboard tools out, and I strongly suggest that you go around, if you do want to use a dashboard tool, go around testing different dashboards and seeing which ones meet your need. Most of them, if not all, will be able to integrate within iFormBuilder. But what you're able to do is, again, once a record is submitted in iForm, you're able to see the dashboard be impacted by that number once you've created that post URL. Then we go into our ESRI and ArcGIS integration. So these are some great, this is a great integration as well. And you can have, with the ESRI ArcGIS, you're able to have forms that can easily become a feature service in ArcGIS Online or the server, the desktop server. You can also have existing feature services. They can become forms within iFormBuilder, and you can integrate with the ESRI app. The first thing you need to do for this integration, and this is actually an easier process, is you'll need to connect to your ESRI ArcGIS account within iFormBuilder. I have a link here, and this is if you have a dedicated database, and I'm going to put this in our chat. Where it says training, you would update it to include the dedicated database URL that you have, but this is where you start, and this is where you connect your your ESRI and iFormBuilder accounts together. And what I've done is, as you can see, I've been unlinked here, and I'll have to relink and at a later date. But the first thing you'll do is just in the specific URL, you'll link your ArcGIS account. Once you've done that, at the very bottom, you'll see a list of forms that you've created that currently have the ESRI widget in the form structure. You'll only see the forms that have the ESRI widget, and at that point, you can select that form and you can have it be pushed over and become a layer within your ESRI, within your ArcGIS Online. This again is just a quick look at it. One thing I didn't mention is that you're also able to import from ArcGIS. So potentially, if you already have a structure within ArcGIS, you can import it to iFormBuilder, and it'll create a new form with those fields. And from there, you can edit and add functionality or add different elements to that form. So you don't have to start from scratch. So within the iFormBuilder platform and the ESRI integration, you have the ability to call iForm application from an ArcGIS pop-up. You can configure a pop-up to call iForm through a URL scheme. I'm sorry about that. The iForm app is opened for advanced data capture with subforms. You're also able to submit data in ArcGIS feature services when it's updated. And this last part here is a link that we have of course, you'll be able to view at a later time as well, but it shows that integration and how the ESRI and iFormBuilder, both platforms can communicate with each other and work together. So a lot of times we say iFormBuilder is the what, or I'm sorry, oh my goodness. ESRI is the where and iFormBuilder is the what. Sorry, I guess I'm talking a little too fast. And before I go into some other examples and using the post URLs for some free integration tool examples, are there any other questions? Or is there a follow-up question from the last one, MJ?
There was no follow-up question from the last one. They were satisfied with the answer. I do have a new question here.
Sure.
When Collector is capable of working on the Windows format, will iForm also be able to do that on Windows as well?
I believe you're referring to Windows tablets. Currently, iFormBuilder does not have an app for the Windows tablets. Now, down the road, that may change, but at this time, it's not necessarily in the plans. But again, things do change. If we see that a lot of customers need the iForm app on the Windows tablets, and we will look more towards that and potentially start that as well. Great question, though. Anything else, MJ?
No, that's the only one that's come through.
All right. Okay, so we just talked about some of the tools that you can use, and just briefly some of the tools that you can use that are for paid services. But Google really offers a lot as far as creating a custom workflow and creating this really dynamic integration. And I'm actually going to be showing you a demo in just a minute, but I want to briefly talk about some of the options that you have within Google. One thing is you can go from iForm to Google. So using the post URL, again, you'd say every time a record submitted in iForm, please push it to Google. And it can cover all reporting aspects, like a single record submission, and have it go into a doc, a PDF, and a Google Doc, and have a PDF generated from the data. You can also aggregate all the reporting. You can create a dashboard with Google Charts. And I mean, it's very, very dynamic. So there's three things that I just showed you where we talked about WebMerge, and you create a custom PDF. You can do the same thing within Google, and the same, not to the same level as Coupe Folio, where they have a lot of different options as far as a dashboard, but you can do some charting and have that viewed in real time, like a basic bar graph or pie chart and whatnot. So you can have that also going into Google and build a really custom workflow. Another thing that you can do is you can go from Google to iForm. So you can create an integration for when a spreadsheet table is updated in Google, then a new record can be added to the iFormBuilder database. So this is really important for those of you who potentially want users to have a web interface, because as you know, iFormBuilder was designed for a mobile data collection, but we do understand that potentially you don't always want someone collecting data on their mobile device. So you can use Google as a way to have them input the data within an online environment and have it update the iFormBuilder database. All right, now I have this really awesome demo that I want to show you, and I do have one of my colleagues here. Because she was the one who actually developed it for a customer. So to give you a little background, before I start showing you this, we had somebody come to us who is a non-government organization, and they do a lot with data collection in offline environments, and they have their users, and they love that they're able to see that data in the Excel files, but they weren't really able to understand that data in a quick time. A lot of data cleansing was happening, and that's not really helpful for anyone. So what we were able to do, or what my colleague here, Tak, was able to do, is she was able to take two records from two data sets, I guess you can think of it, from iFormBuilder, and create two different Google spreadsheets. So we have one here, and this is data that is automatically updated from a specific form within iForm every time a record is submitted. So this it is located here. And there's another form, BSF monitoring, and within iFormBuilder, and this is also automatically updated based off of the post URL. From these two forms, we then go into our BSF dashboard. So it's taking both of those forms data and compiling it in a very user-friendly and easy way to understand it. So you have very simple information about when the data was collected and completed, and as well as going into the installation date. Now, what you'll notice up top is they have the installation date. They have a date of 1 month household visit, date of 3 month household visit, date of 6 month, and date of 12th month. So that data is actually already being created within iFormBuilder. They had form fields that were figuring out what's the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and 12th month date that they should have that household visit. So that data, you'll notice that there are rows that are all red. The reason for that is what this customer wanted is they wanted to make sure that they could easily identify if that person went back and did their household 1 month visit. So all the columns in red are saying that that has not happened yet. They haven't gone on site and done the visit that they're supposed to do. If I scroll down some more, you'll notice that we then have some green rows, and this is just saying, okay, now they've done their 1 month visit. This is when their 3 month visit should be, and so on. So this is automatically updated every night. Now, if for some reason I came in here and it was midday and I know someone had just synced their device and I wanted to see that data, I would then, she's also included this refresh button. So I'd press the refresh button, and at that point, any new data would then be displayed in this Google chart. So basically right now, since this workflow has been completed, this doesn't have to be touched and it'll automatically be updated. The colors will then change based off of if the household visits have occurred. Now, not only is that awesome, she's also been able to use the Google Charts to create a quick bar graph displaying the information that was captured for each month. And for different questions, she has the percentages. This has nothing to do with scripting or writing any type of code. She just used the tools that Google had given her for the Google chart. If you guys haven't noticed it yet, the Google chart is this little button at the very top right-hand corner. It's about 3 icons in. So this is just one chart. She's then done another one as well, and this is still a newer integration, so there isn't a whole lot of data yet captured, but as we see this growing a lot, this data will be really, really fruitful and helpful for this team to identify, as well as not only are the donors and the really supervisors able to look at this, but then you also have the individuals who are collecting the data are able to take a look at this and realize, oh my goodness, I haven't done my 3-month visit, or I have to do my 6-month visit, and as well as saying, okay, well, this is what I thought was happening in this area, but I see that there are actually more problems in this area than I originally thought. So here are some additional charts. And that's the last for the charts, but the workflow doesn't actually end here. There's something else that they also had as a criteria that they wanted for this integration, and it is that at the end of every month, they would be able to quickly identify what households needed to be surveyed and what the dates were for those surveys. So what my colleague was able to create is she was able to have it automatically that an email is sent out, and in that email, it'll have a PDF attached, and that PDF will say, okay, this is the date of the 1 month, this is the date of 3 month, 6 month, and 12th month. So they can see the different assignments that they have for that specific for that specific month. So this is always going to be sent out on the 25th. Just to give you guys an idea, I mean, this is wonderful what she's able to do, but it does take some time and it does take some scripting. And so if you aren't very familiar, I mean, we have knowledge-based articles, we have videos, which we really want to help you do this, but if you do have questions, we do have implementation support and we can help you with it. So these are the different calls that she was able to finish or complete for that functionality to occur. You can see that she has the monitoring. She, of course, then always has a backup in case something were to happen, the copy, and then the send email, which was that configuration that I showed you just a minute ago where the PDF would be attached. All right, MJ, how are we doing over there?
All right, Brett, I actually have 2 questions. I'm going to start with one of the links, training.iFormBuilder.com/exact integration ESRI the ArcGIS. Mm-hmm. When someone clicked on that, it took them to an admin login screen. Is there any way to get around that?
Yeah, so that was just an example of what it would be. So where I have training, because this is my dedicated database, where I have training, you would put in your dedicated database. If you don't know if you have a dedicated database, or if you're logging into iFormBuilder.com, then currently you should just be able to put www.iFormBuilder.com and be able to set up that ESRI integration.
Okay, and then
It's really the second half of this URL that you need to make sure that you have.
Okay, and then another question that came through is, I see an API edit record and delete record operations, but no corresponding Zapier actions. Is there a way to accomplish this through Zapier?
Can you repeat that, MJ?
Of course. I see API edit record and delete record operations, but no corresponding Zapier actions. Am I missing something? If not, how best to accomplish those operations through Zapier?
Okay, so you're right. Within, let me just get iFormBuilder up here. Within Zapier, we don't have the edit records, partially because usually when you are editing a record, it's not the same workflow every time. So hopefully you're not editing the same form and the same record every single day. So that's why we have the API, because the API will allow you to do one call to edit a specific amount of records. So sadly, Zapier can't really help with that process because it's not an automation that will continually happen. If there's any more questions on that, I'd be happy to go into a little bit more detail. I know the second half of that question was, how can you achieve that? Well, sadly, you can't achieve that with a Zapier because, again, Zapier is for continuous actions, and that editing a record won't always, it shouldn't be a continuous action that you have.
And then, Bear, when you were going through the Google operation there, was the code you were showing for Google Forms, or was that on the iFormBuilder side?
Okay, great question. So this is what I've done, and I'll just go out of there. I'm in the Google spreadsheet, and then I've gone under Tools and Script Editor. And this is basically where all the magic happens. This is where you also will get the post URL that you'll use on the Google side. So this is all within Google. This is where you actually match up the data column names that you have within iForm to what you've created in Google. So let me actually bring this one up as well. Okay, and this is where you'll see that it's telling me to get the specific, here's my data column names that I have within that specific form, and this is where I want it placed within that Google spreadsheet. So before you ever even look at the script editor, you need to make sure you set up your Google spreadsheet, as well as make sure that you've completed data and completed basically the structure that you've developed within the form itself. Now, if you do want to add additional fields to that form, that's okay. Just you'll have to make sure that once this configuration has been created, that the data column names aren't being changed, because if they are, then this post URL is going to break, and you wouldn't be able to see all of you'd still have the data within iFormBuilder, but you wouldn't necessarily have it here with this automation that you've created. Any other questions?
For now, Berit, that is it.
Awesome, great, thank you. All right, then we're going to just go into building custom web services, and this is using the iFormBuilder API. So what we've done so far is we've talked about integrating iFormBuilder data using that post URL. And I'm sure you're sick of me saying post URL this, post URL that, but that's really the first step in creating any type of integration. The second step is, and some people will never reach this point, is creating a custom web service. The reason you'd want to create a custom web service is because it allows for a unique workflow. So the post URL very simply posts that data to whatever other locations that you want it to, whereas the web service can have data flow bidirectionally. So potentially if I have an internal, or we have an internal software that we're using, and we have all the users are listed there, and I'm updating option lists there. By creating a custom web service, I can then automatically update the option list within iForm using the iForm API. So this is really a unique workflow, whereas using the post URL may not. Basically, you come to the custom web services when the post URL isn't working for what you actually need. This is creating a custom web service is for developers. It uses the iFormBuilder RESTful API for that integration. If you don't have an in-house developer and you do find that you want to have a custom web service, please let us know, and we'd be happy to assist with that. But if you do have someone in-house, we have a couple different links, and I'll show you that in a minute, on how they can get started in creating this unique workflow for your project. So the top reasons on why you'd want or feel that you need to develop a custom web service is, number one, if you want to integrate data from multiple sources. Two, if you're looking to redefine your workflow. And three, for full task automation, i.e. updating option lists, users tables, assigning records based on certain values or location, etc. One example of this custom web service that was recently created was for this group who basically wanted information and records to be sent to users based off of their location. So, for instance, if I was the user, I have the iForm app open on my device, and I say that I capture my locational data, and then I say that I want 7 records assigned or 7 records sent to me. Based off of my locational data, I'll receive 7 records off of that area. So maybe let's say we're talking about schools in the area. So I say, send me the 7 closest schools for this area. So that was a really custom workflow, and it was amazing what they were able to achieve and what they can achieve with that. But that's the reason that you'd want to use our API instead of using our post URL. So here are the links that I have on just getting started with the custom web service. We do have just the API authentication, code samples, as well as our latest version, which is 5.0. One thing I also want to mention is that we have had some groups who've been very, very successful because their developers are creative, they're organized, and they've created a user guide to assist, of course, their users with the custom workflow that they've created. In this user guide, they include topics like the data synchronization overview, form development standardization, which includes like naming conventions and how to handle option lists. They have the topic for table modification, things to know when making schema changes, and disaster plans. So that's another awesome tool that people who've created custom web services have done. But not only if you are creating custom web services should you create a user guide. I actually think that user guides can be of assistance for any project at any level. And then just to briefly go through some additional integrations that are kind of fun and kind of cool is one is the third-party widget. So when you're creating a form and you're selecting an input type, there's one called the third party. This allows you to call to another application that's installed on your device, and it can pass data to the iForm app. For instance, you can maybe make a phone call, you could set up an SMS to take place. Maybe you will always have a phone number that you want the user to text if it's an emergency. Hopefully it's not an emergency if you're texting them, but you could also set up a phone call. One group has, what they've done is they've actually set up FaceTime so that if there is a problem while they're in the manufacturing room and they need to talk to their supervisor who's maybe 4 floors up, they're able to FaceTime with their supervisor and figure out the response to that specific problem in real time instead of having to wait 3 or 4 hours until the supervisor is free and able to go down to the manufacturing floor and so on. So that's another awesome integration. But with that, if you want to, you can also design your own third-party app and use the iFormBuilder URL scheme and have the data flow bidirectionally that way as well. Another fun integration is if your users are always going to have or if they're always going to be connected to the web either by their phone service or by Wi-Fi, you can use the iFormBuilder page-level JavaScript. You can use the AJAX or JavaScript calls to create a two-way communication between like an ERP system or another system and the iForm app. So both the third-party widget and the page-level JavaScript are other ways that you can have an integration for data on the device. And the last thing that I want to talk about is Gnosis. Before I go into that, MJ, are we all good?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so Gnosis is really, really exciting, and it's basically a new part of the Zerion software. I guess our Zerion software company as a whole, and it's a new product. So we have iFormBuilder as a product. We're going to have Gnosis as a product. We also have the Thunderplug as a product. But Gnosis is amazing, and it's going to be coming in 2015 is the plan, or hopefully it'll be rolled out in 2016. But it allows you to store data, refine your data, and then distribute your data. It allows for long-term data storage in a very, very secure environment. It's using our trust no one data architecture. So even us within iFormBuilder or no one should be able to view that data unless you give them permission, which is through the data sharing. You can give someone permission for an hour to view your data or only see certain parts of your data. There's a lot of benefits of using Gnosis, and as this product continues to grow, it becomes really more and more impressive. But it allows for that active or passive data collection, and then it goes into your secure raw data storage, refines that data. You're able to take that refined data and then distribute as needed. Not only that, along with that refining, what we're talking about is really analytics. You're able to do some number crunching. You're able to see responses, take different data sets and compile them together to get a really well-rounded idea of what's actually occurring. At the bottom of this page, you'll notice that I do have a link here. We had a webinar on Gnosis, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, where if you go to this link, you'll be able to view and listen to that recording, but you can also sign up to be a beta tester. So if Gnosis sounds really neat to you and it looks like something that you want to potentially have a part of your workflow, then please sign up to be a beta tester and someone will reach out to you and allow you to start playing around within the product. All right, and we're coming to a close here. These are just some additional links that I think would be really helpful for you, so you can sign up for future sessions and view the recorded sessions that we have, and that's just from the iFormBuilder Academy. We do have these different support options, so we have implementation support, we have training courses, we also have the Kickstart training program, and a new thing that we've just added is we have 2 ebooks. These are really quick and short, fun reads, just to make sure that you're getting the most from the iFormBuilder platform. All right, well, that is actually all from me. I know this was a lot, and hopefully those of you who have stayed with me on this, hopefully you feel like you have a greater understanding on the different types of integration and how to integrate your data. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And as well as we will be sending out the recording of this and the slide deck. And if you have questions, you can respond to that email and I'd be happy to help as well. Again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to meet with us and to go through this. If there's anything, MJ and I will stay on for a couple more minutes. But if not, thank you and have a good rest of your day and have a happy 4th of July.